Autism and delayed sensory processing. What you need to know. My brain is like a computer. All parts function exactly the same as in the neurotypical brains, but two components specific to the autistic build are responsible for the slow processing speed, low RAM and a single core CPU. Here's what it means in practice. Hello and welcome to Autistic Perspective. My name is AnnMaRou and I'm autistic. We all know that more RAM and CPU cores mean faster and more efficient processing of tasks. And neurotypicals by default are fitted with multi-core, multi-thread processors. However, my brain has been equipped with a RAM and a single-core processor designed and manufactured by Autism. The low RAM means that I can store only a small amount of temporary information, and it gets cleared very frequently to make room for new batches. For example, when my neurotypical partner tells me,
"After you come back from the walk, open the window for the cat."
By the time I get home, I would have forgotten what he asked for because my cache emptied. Whereas a single core CPU means that I can consciously handle only one process or sensory input source at a time, such as watching, reading, listening, speaking, performing physical actions, receiving and recognizing bodily sensations like hunger, thirst, pain, touch, and so on. Whatever my processor is focused on at any given time, it blocks out everything else. For example, if I'm reading, I am unable to pay attention to what you're saying to me, and vice versa. Because if two separate tasks fight for my attention, it results in brain explosion. I have to either listen to you first and read after you finish talking, or you let me read in silence and then we can discuss. In more complex situations, everything is recorded, but only the most important thread can be processed at a time it's happening. That's why often only afterwards, when I have no other immediate processes demanding attention, I retrieve the recorded data, like a CCTV video feed, and process its other threads in order to come to full understanding of what had happened. For example, in a conversation I could be focusing on the comprehension of what's being said to me, and I may lack time to come back with more than a basic knee-jerk reply. The full response comes later, after I was able to review the footage, analyze all the important threads, and put all the pieces together. Depending on the situation, this process can take seconds, minutes, hours, but sometimes even days. Of course, that ship had sailed by then, and it's usually too late. Living in a neurotypical world feels like everyone around me runs at a higher speed, and I'm always late to the party. As an example, let me illustrate what happens inside my head when I'm involved in a one-on-one conversation. If you start talking to me, more than likely you will have to repeat the sentence or question, because even if I am seemingly doing nothing, my mind is constantly busy thinking, and I will have to suspend that process first in order to shift my attention to your words. That's why it's best to get my attention first before you start throwing verbal content at me. Then interpretation kicks in, and it can be tricky because by default, I will run the autistic literal interpretation while rendering it into visual images so I can comprehend what you're talking about. And if it doesn't make sense, I will have to run it again through the NT plugin. Despite that, me asking you lots of support questions is a common occurrence. Once that's done, and I've created the mental image of what you're saying, I can move on to response phase by visualizing a picture that I will have to describe to you in words. And that's already two processes running concurrently. On top of that, I have to say those words out loud, which amounts to 3 separate processes running at the same time. Because of that, something as trivial to neurotypical people as verbal conversation takes up a lot of concentration and mental effort, due to all those steps running throughout like a script requiring continuous switching of the threads, and it's exhausting. Low RAM and single-core CPU mean that my brain gets overheated fast and feels like it's ready to explode. And that is only a one-on-one conversation scenario. When there's 2 or more people participating in a conversation, and the topic is interesting or important, I switch to the listening only mode so that I can follow it and not miss out. While in other situations, the voices become an incomprehensible noise and I tune out entirely. To summarize, neurotypicals by default are fitted with multi-core, multi-thread processors, while majority of autistic people are equipped with single-core CPUs. And that's why we can come across as slow, stupid, quiet, unresponsive, overreacting, insensitive, absent-minded, dejected, or weird, because we process things at different speed. I'm not stupid, dumb, or retarded. I'm simply slow, like a snail, and need more time to arrive at the same point, but more often than not, with better results after all. I am very curious what your observations or analogies relating to delayed sensory processing are. Please share them in the comment section below. And if you like this video, press the virtual live support buttons. In my next video, I will talk about monotasking, how it links to sensory processing and how it affects me in everyday life. In the meantime, if you haven't, take a look at my previous videos. And if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, please leave them in the comments below. Also, you can join our Telegram chat group if you'd like to connect with a community of like-minded people. Thank you for watching. Have a lovely day. Yours, autistically, AnnMaRou.